All right, let's jump right in. In the next few minutes, we're going to walk through a really powerful guide for building wealth in 2026. And this isn't just about trying to predict the market. No, this is a whole three-step philosophy, and it's designed for long-term success. So let's get started. So this whole strategy really boils down to three key ideas: accounting, planning, and discipline. Now, they might sound kind of basic, but believe me, mastering them, and in this exact order, is the foundation for absolutely everything else we're going to talk about. Okay, so let's tackle that first key: accounting. And no, this isn't about spreadsheets and bookkeeping. It's about something way more important: looking back, honestly, critically, to learn from what worked and, maybe even more crucially, what didn't. And this is such a powerful idea, right? Look, we're all human. We all make financial mistakes. That's just a fact of life. But the real game changer is choosing to learn from them instead of just repeating them over and over. That's how you build a solid foundation. Okay, so how do we actually apply this? Well, if we want to plan for 2026, we first have to do the accounting for 2025. We need to ask, what were the big things that shaped the year? And what was the single biggest lesson the market tried to teach us? And man, 2025 was a wild ride, wasn't it? You had ongoing geopolitical stuff raising the tension. You had the AI revolution just exploding into everything. You had central banks sending out these really clear signals about printing more money. And on top of it all, we got some huge crypto laws passed. All of this created a market where, the old playbooks just didn't seem to work anymore. So what's the big lesson here? What did 2025 really teach us? It's this: the old way of looking at things, focusing only on the numbers like price to earnings ratios, it just kept getting it wrong. The market showed us time and time again that the quality of an asset was so much more important than just its numbers on a spreadsheet. And to show you this isn't just theory, the author gives a really personal example. He talks about his decision to sell Bitcoin right around the $120,000 mark. Now, why did he do that? Because his qualitative read on the market, his gut feeling about its health, was screaming that a big correction was on the way. And he did this even while the raw numbers and the hype were still pointing up. It's a perfect case of trusting quality insights over quantitative data. All right, so we've looked back, we've done our accounting for 2025. Now it's time for that second key: planning. So let's dive into the specific three-stage plan for how to navigate 2026. And here it is. This is the core roadmap for the year. The plan sees a rise in the first few months, which is your time to focus on growing your capital. But then it anticipates a pretty significant market correction sometime before June. That's when the goal totally flips to preserving your capital. And then finally, the idea is that a new long-term uptrend will start to take shape before the US elections in November. This quote from the original analysis just nails the feeling they're expecting. It paints a picture of a year that starts off with a bang, all this enthusiasm, but then starts to get kind of gloomy and depressive as we head toward the middle. So the plan is to ride that early wave of optimism and then get defensive to protect what you've made. So that brings up a huge question, right? If there's a big correction coming, what on earth could possibly kick off the next major uptrend? Well, according to this forecast, the answer is pretty revolutionary. And the answer, according to this forecast, is something huge. It's not just another market cycle or a temporary blip on the chart. It's the beginning of a massive shift the author says they've been waiting on for years: the rise of a whole new financial system built on tokenized real-world assets. So let's talk about this key idea: tokenized assets. What does that even mean? Well, think of it like this. It's the technology that lets you take ownership of a real-world thing, like a building or a piece of art, and turn it into a digital token that lives on a blockchain. Now, why is that a huge deal? Well, because it could make things that are normally hard to sell, like real estate, instantly tradable. It would let people own tiny fractions of big assets, and it could create a global marketplace for value that's open 24/7. I mean, how cool is that? Just forget all the complicated tech talk for a second and just picture it. The deed to your house is now a secure digital token you can transfer in an instant. That's the world that's starting to happen right now, and it could completely change the way we think about owning and trading, well, everything. And this is the key takeaway right here. The people who really get this and get it early, they're going to be the new stars of this emerging financial world. The opportunity here is absolutely massive. But here's the thing. You can have the best, most revolutionary plan in the world, but it's totally useless without that third and final key: discipline. To actually pull this off, you need a mindset that's grounded in a much deeper philosophy about wealth, and honestly, about life itself. And this really gets to the core of it. It forces you to ask a really important question. Are you trying to earn money, or are you trying to create wealth? See, earning money is usually about trading your time for an income. But creating wealth, that's the real goal. That's where your assets start working for you. It's a completely different mindset. You see, the path to building real wealth, it isn't some big secret, but it absolutely requires discipline. It all starts with having a deep respect for your own hard work, protecting the value you create, what the author calls the honor of your labor and savings. From there, it's simple. You save, even if it's just a tiny bit, and then you systematically invest those savings to build for your future. And that really brings us full circle to maybe the most important lesson of all. This whole journey of building wealth, just like life, is not going to be a straight line. You're going to have setbacks. You will fall. The plan isn't always going to go perfectly. Your discipline is going to be tested. But the ultimate philosophy is just about resilience. Every single time we fall, we get back up. And that, right there, is the final key to success.